No one raised their voice. That was the part that stayed with me. We were sitting at the dining table we'd owned for nearly 20 years, that the surface dulled by heat marks and forgotten spills. My mother was folding her napkin with careful precision. My father stared at a crack in the wall like it had just said something offensive. My brother leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, already finished with the conversation before it started. "No one wants you here," he said, evenly, like he was reading a weather report. My parents nodded. Not aggressively, not apologetically either. Just a shared, practiced agreement. I waited for the familiar heat in my chest, the reflex to defend myself, to remind them of favors, sacrifices, that hours lost smoothing things over. It didn't come. What arrived instead was a strange, hollow quiet, like when a long-running appliance finally shuts off, and you realize how loud it had been all along. Packe said. That was it. No argument. No exit speech. I stood up, pushed my chair in, and went to my room. I heard my brother exhale, relieved. I heard my mother whisper something to my father, too low to catch. No one followed me. Packing took less time than I expected. A backpack, a duffel bag, the essentials. As I folded clothes, my mom did something odd. It stopped telling stories. No replaying conversations. No rehearsed comebacks, just inventory. Shirt, charger, documents. In the bottom drawer, I found the folder, utility logins, payment schedules, medical appointment summaries. Passwords written in my handwriting, updated every few months. I stared at it for a long moment, then slid it back into the drawer and closed it. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't even say goodbye. I stepped out like someone who had already been forgotten. For the first few days, nothing happened. That confirmed what I'd always suspected. My presence had been loud in my own head, not in the house. The world didn't shake. No messages came in. No one asked where I was sleeping. I found a small room through a friend of a friend, temporary, neutral, clean. I slept better than I had in years. On the fourth day, my phone rang once. I didn't answer. The next morning, there were 3 missed calls. By noon, 7. By evening, 12. No voicemails at first. Just the calls. Close together, then spaced out, like someone pacing. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone face down, trying to name what I felt. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't anger. It was closer to recognition, but not the kind that heals. The kind that arrives late, wearing the wrong shoes. The voicemail finally came from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, this is the Municipal Housing Office." The woman said, professional and unhurried. "We're following up regarding documentation for the residence at." She read my parents' address. "We've been informed the primary administrative contact is no longer residing there. We need clarification to proceed." I listened to it twice. That was the moment. Not emotional, not dramatic, just undeniable. I had been the administrative contact. I handled the renewal notices, the compliance forms, the correspondence no one else wanted to read. I'd stood in line at offices that smelled like dust and toner. I'd made the calls that took 40 minutes to resolve something no one acknowledged afterward. It wasn't power, it was maintenance. And maintenance, once gone, leaves marks fast. The next voicemail was my mother. Her voice was careful, pitched higher than usual. "Why didn't you tell us you were handling all that?" she asked. Not angry. Confused. "We're getting letters." Then my brother. Shorter, sharper. "You need to call back. This is serious." No apology, no retraction, just urgency. I didn't return the calls that day, or the next. Instead, I went to work. I bought groceries. I made a list of things I needed to replace. I noticed how light my shoulders felt without anticipating criticism. How quiet evenings could be when no one expected you to translate, smooth, fix. On the third day, the housing office called again. This time they asked directly if I was still willing to serve as the point of contact. "I'm not," I said. My voice didn't shake. "Understood." The woman replied, "We'll update the file." That was it. Authority didn't argue. It didn't pressure, it just recorded reality and moved on. That night, my father finally left a message. "We didn't realize," he said. His voice carried the weight of inconvenience more than regret. With thought. "You should come home so we can sort this out." Sort this out. Not us. Not what was said. Not what was agreed upon at that table. I stared at the wall and let the silence answer for me. In the following weeks, the calls slowed, became sporadic, then stopped. I heard later, through an aunt, through a cousin, that things had become complicated, that offices asked questions, that deadlines were missed, that my brother was frustrated, snapping at everyone, that my parents were tired. I felt none of the triumph people expect from these stories. Just a steady, grounded understanding. My absence mattered more than my presence ever did. Not because they missed me, but because systems noticed when I left, processes stalled. Authority required a name, a signature, a responsible party. And for the first time, my role was visible not through emotion, but through consequence. I didn't go back. Not out of spite, not to prove a point. I stayed away because returning would have meant shrinking my absence again into something they could ignore once it resumed working. Some nights, I still think about that table, about how easily they nodded, about how calm cruelty can look when it's shared. But then I think about the quiet room I sleep in now, about how no one here tells me whether I belong, about how dignity doesn't always arrive with applause. Sometimes it shows up as paperwork being reassigned. And that's enough.